What's up YouTube? Davion back with another video. The NBA is literally a week away and I'm here for it. I'm totally ready. I'm looking forward to the season and ready to do all kind of videos throughout the season. So for starters, I figured I would start with a season preview. I was going to do a team profile of each team where each team will have their own video, but that's about 30 videos, and with the season being a week away, I decided to do team profiles by division. So I've been looking at each division, like the Central, Southeast, and so on, and I'll look at each team and my expectations of them this season. So let's get started. We'll be starting with the East Coast. The East Coast will be a bit different this year, seeing that a player who was a huge part of the Eastern Conference is no longer there. Actually, the East might even be a bit more competitive this year because of that. And I think that the top 3 teams of the East will come from the same division. And that division is the Atlantic Division. So let's start there. The Atlantic Division consists of the Boston Celtics, the Brooklyn Nets, the New York Knicks, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Toronto Raptors. Let's start with the Celtics. The Celtics finished second in the Eastern Conference with a record of 55-27. They went through the playoffs and did fairly well. And they did it without Kyrie Irving or Gordon Hayward. The Celtics were without their stars and still managed to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they were a game away from making the finals. However, the Cavs beat them in a 7-game series and went on to face the Warriors for the 4th straight time. As I mentioned, the Celtics did this without their 2 stars, Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving. They lost Kyrie Irving towards the end of the regular season, and they lost Gordon Hayward in the first game of the regular season last year against the Cavs. Both Kyrie and Gordon will be back this year, so the Celtics will be in full effect. The Celtics lost 5 players in the offseason but gained 5. There wasn't any additions or subtractions that will affect the roster dramatically. Terry Rozier, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, all of those guys are still there, and they, especially Jason Tatum, will only get better from here. The Celtics will more than likely be the first of their division and overall the first of the Eastern Conference. They were, as I mentioned, 55-27 last year, and I think they'll be around the same range this year. The Brooklyn Nets are another team in the Atlantic Division. The Nets were 12th in the East with a record of 28-54. The Nets have been a lottery team for the past few years, but they haven't really been able to capitalize on it. Practically all of their picks belong to the Celtics, and their pick this year went to the Cavs due to the Kyrie Irving Isaiah Thomas trade. So the Nets haven't really had a chance to fully rebuild. I think they actually own the pick this year. I could be wrong, but if so, perhaps we'll see them get an opportunity to rebuild. The Nets brought in some guys like Ed Davis, Jared Dudley, Kenneth Faried, and Shabazz Napier. Davis signed with them. Dudley was traded to them in exchange for Daryl Arthur, who was actually a part of another deal involving the Nets. Arthur was traded alongside Kenneth Faried to the Nets in exchange for Isaiah Whitehead. And Napier signed with the Nets in the offseason. As I said, they brought in a total of 9 guys and they lost 9 as well. They lost guys like Jeremy Lin, who was traded to the Hawks, Timofey Mozgov, who was a part of a trade that sent Dwight Howard to the Nets, and then he was traded again to the Orlando Magic. And they also lost Jahlil Okafor, who they acquired last year in a trade with the Sixers, but he signed with the Pelicans in the offseason. Nets went 28-54 last year. I don't see them improving much, if at all. Next up is the Knicks. The Knicks went 29-53 last season, and they were 11th in the Eastern Conference. They gained 6 players and lost 4, one of the 6 being Kevin Knox, who they drafted in the 2018 draft. Knox is a forward from the University of Kentucky, and he was the 9th pick of this year's draft. His preseason hasn't been very good from what I'm seeing, but in the Las Vegas Summer League, he averaged 21.3 points and 6.5 rebounds. In the preseason, he's shooting 8 of 28 with 10 turnovers. It's nothing to be alarmed about, but regardless, it's still something that's happening. But yeah, he's one of the Knicks' newest additions, and as far as losses, one of the 4 losses was Michael Beasley, who signed with the Lakers. The Knicks are still trying to find direction, at least to me. I'm not really entirely sure where they're headed. Of course, there were rumors that that's one of Jimmy Butler's preferred destinations due to them having the cap space to sign him, and this could just be me talking, but I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to bring Kyrie Irving to New York with him, which could be great for the Knicks. So, we'll see what happens. The Knicks won 29 games last year, and I see them winning maybe like 3 more. In other words, nothing too significant. The 76ers went 52-30 last year, and they were the 3rd seed of the East. They made it to the second round of the playoffs where they lost a 4-1 series against the Celtics. Personally, I like the 76ers. I think they have a good young core in Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, and I think they'll only get better. They brought in 8 players, including Wilson Chandler and Mike Muscala, and lost 5 guys. Embiid averaged 22.9 points, 11 rebounds, and 3.2 assists. He's 24 years old, and if he stays healthy, he could be a top 3 big man in the league. Then, with Ben Simmons, he's 22 years old, a skilled player. He just has to work on his shooting. He averaged 15.8 points, 8.2 assists, and 8.1 rebounds, which is nearly a triple-double. I think him and Embiid will play well this season, both together and individually. I think the Sixers will be second in the East, and they'll have a slightly better record than last year. The final team of the Atlantic Division is the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors brought in a big name in Kawhi Leonard, which I'm curious to see how this pans out. Well, we see Kawhi is already getting adjusted to Toronto, so I think it'll work out. Now I just wonder if it's long term. Will Kawhi stay with the Raptors or will he go to LA? The Raptors also lost DeMar DeRozan, who was a part of the Kawhi Leonard deal. Obviously the Raptors had to give something to get something, so in this case it was DeRozan. The Raptors went 59-23 last season and became the 1st seed of the East. They were swept by the Cavs in the second round of the playoffs, which is more or less a disappointment. They fired their coach Dwayne Casey, who actually won Coach of the Year, strangely enough. Casey signed a deal with the Pistons later in the offseason. I wasn't a fan of the firing, but the Raptors felt they did what they had to do, so we'll see. I don't know what to expect from the Raptors with a new player in Kawhi, but I still think they'll be a top 3 team in the East. Alright, that wraps up this video. 1 division down, 5 more to go, so stay tuned for that. And also, if I had to rank this division, I would say Celtics, Sixers, Raptors, Knicks, and Nets. Alright, see you next time.